And so if we see Allen turn on that switch like we know we can, I think we're gonna see overall the Celtics as a defense turn up as well. Because when the Celtics are at their best defensively, that's when they're at their best offensively as well. Especially directly correlated to this series where their defense is going to translate into their offense. And you just look at this possession here. Al, this is it's a little too far back. It's a little too far back in my opinion. I think you either have to be more far up or Derek just has to fight over the screen. There's no reason Derek can easily fight over this screen here, but they're willing. They were willing the whole game to give up things to the 76ers. They were willing. They're willing to concede the whole game. I don't think that's the way you can play. I think as a defense, you have to be on the attack and not the defense. As ironic as that sounds, you have to be able to put the Sixers in situations they're uncomfortable with. And this is most definitely not uncomfortable. That's an easy open shot that Tyrese Maxey hit 10 out of 24 times last night or 2 nights ago. And even here, I look at this possession again. Just not either you got to come up more on the switch here, or Marcus just battle the screen right away. You see this right now. Go over the screen right away, flip around it, come back. Look how deep he is still. Right, Marcus does try, but I feel like Marcus could have right away. He could have stepped up just a little bit earlier on this and forced James to cross over to his back to his left here. I get it. He's trying to take away his left. He's making a point to try to take away his left, force go to right, but now he's just back to his left anyways, and he's two back. Now, one way you prevent this is if Al is higher up in the drop here. Now, again, he's not so far back here. He actually does a good job initially, but then he gives up the step right here. And I don't think you need to do that. I think you can play up still because you have Jalen showing as a defender right there already. Notice Jalen on the wing already showing himself as a defender here on this possession. And then now you're letting him get too far. The recover point, Marcus needs to work a little bit faster, a little bit faster. If Al's going to keep playing, dropping back to help so we can get back to Paul Reed, Marcus needs to work quicker here. He's working, but this is not the hardest I've ever seen Marcus Smart work before. And it took him until the fourth quarter of this game to finally get the best we could out of him. And that's the same for everybody. It's not just Marcus. It's the best we could. Now, again, Marcus made a couple of plays, made your head scratch, but he was willing and he was trying. Give me effort over not effort any day of the week. And so Holm throws it in, and then James could have kept going at this possession, but poor spacing by Philly. Poor spacing by Philly. James is going to be okay with dumping into Paul Reed, and then Paul Reed's going to go ahead and give us a possession. Right. So even though the execution for Philly wasn't there, that doesn't mean exactly our process or not our. I don't play, but for the Celtics, but the Celtics process wasn't the best. Wasn't the best on this possession. Here, ISO, fine with that. Live with that. Have Tobias Harris go off in isolation. That's the idea. But here again, boom, behind on screen. Now James is going to ride in. It's too much. Either cut him. I know James is kind of riding him, and they made it a point to try to make James go to his right hand. But you can't force him to go to his right hand and give him all the space in the lane to come up. It doesn't make sense to me how they were just letting him get why they were just so comfortable with him getting this far in, just so he could go to his patent and step back. And boom, he's going to execute and he's going to hit the shot. Simple as that, right? It's too easy. Now, listen, James played great. It looked like, a couple of his possessions, his blow by speed was there, but he wasn't blowing by people in this game. He really wasn't. It was what the Celtics were giving him versus not him making stuff happen ridiculously. Now, that's not to say he didn't play well. He did. But Celtics were okay with giving him certain shots that I think got him in a rhythm early, and from that point on, it was hard. It was hard to react to. And then when we look at the offense, um, when we look at the offense, um, I just thought a lot of it was dictated by their defense. And when we look at the second quarter stretch they had here of right here. Boom, like Philly went into the zone here. I feel like it messed things up a little bit for, right, this is not what you want to, not how you want to set up. It's a little too late in the shot clock now at this point, so Jason's just going to pull up and they get, Jason's in a rhythm. He's comfortable. He was able to make a three. Um, that was that. But here, I'll pull up three. Right, this was the run that Philly went on here. This is not necessarily a bad shot here. Al can easily hit this, and Al was feeling it. Philly was kind of starting to take some momentum, and Al was trying to take it away. He has a good feel for this stuff, and he gets a shot he wants. He just missed it. That's the end of the day. That's not for me. It's different from good shot versus great shot because Al had a feel for the game and was trying to make something happen there. Here, boom. This is to me not great spacing here. I think Al needs to be in the corner. Al needs to be in the corner here so Jason can get downhill. Simple as that, right? Because if Al's in the corner here, PJ is going to roll to him. If he doesn't roll to him, he's going to have a wide open 3-point shooter. And then if Paul Reed decides to come down, Marcus Smart is going to be wide open for a three. And now you're in rotation, or we get wide. And Celtics get a wide open three. Simple as that. If he doesn't, Paul sticks to Marcus, which is unlikely. But if he did, Jason would have a wide open layup. Instead, force him to a contested pull-up jumper. Might have been a foul. Probably was a foul. Doesn't matter. The process wasn't there in that possession. Again, don't like how late they're getting to the set here. 12 seconds into the set here is when things really get started. I don't like how late. They're better when they push. The Celtics offense is best when they're pushing pace. When they're pushing pace, that is when their offense is at their best. It's just when it's at their best. There's no other way to put it. When they get pace and they're able to make the Sixers be on their heels, that's when their offense is at their best. And we'll show an example of that. All right. I want to show one more of the zone that the Sixers forced the turnover with here. This wasn't necessarily a bad possession, but again, here, look at the possession. Tatum dribbling, right? They're waiting to get into their stuff, right? And this isn't necessarily the worst in terms of, right? They have stuff. They have player movement going on. This wasn't a bad possession, so per se. But I still don't like how long they took to get into this. You could have got into this with 18. You could have started this with 18 on the shot clock. 2 more seconds to work with. Boom, they set the screen. This isn't bad, right? Jason throws to Marcus, and Jason's going to move right away. Exactly what we want. Exactly what we want. Philly, right? They're in this little 2-3 zone thing right here where they're tracking. PJ does a great job of communication, right? They're tracking guys. They're tracking screens. So it's almost like they're tracking man to man, but they're in it. At the end of the day, they're going to show two defenders to the guy with the ball at the top of the key. So they do a really good job here. Philly does. Um, it's almost kind of like a boxing one, not really. It's similar. They disguised it really well because they were switching on screens and it was, confusing. It looked like it sometimes, but they figured it out eventually. They just didn't necessarily execute, especially on this possession here. Jason's gonna move off ball here, boom, and Jason's gonna have a good feel, make the cut, gets fouled. They didn't call it, and I mean that's just how possessions go sometimes. They didn't execute, but still, I didn't. Going down to the lane here, I'd like to have like 9 on the shot clock right here, so you can throw a pass out. Rod doesn't have to shoot if he gets the ball off the pass or Jalen, and they can get the Sixers in rotation and make a couple passes if they need to get a great shot on this possession. This would have been if he makes that pass, Jalen probably would have cut here, as kept cutting as well. They would have had like pick and roll basically almost. Would feel like with Jalen rolling to the basket wide open or Jason getting the layup here, and Paul Reed dragged away from the basket. So there's absolutely no rim protection, and it would have been a decent possession. But again, a little slower of the pace than I like. Again, you don't even have to worry about this if you push the pace much faster than this. You don't have to really You don't have to be as good, which you want to, especially in the fourth quarter. Late in the fourth quarter, you want to be able to execute, but sometimes you're just not able to. Here, I'll go back or we'll go forward a little bit to the beginning of the fourth quarter, and that's when they really started. I really thought their offense in the beginning of the fourth quarter was fantastic, and I think that was driven a lot by their defense. A lot of the possessions they were getting offensively. And take a look here, 16 on the shot clock, getting right into it. 16 was 15 on the last possession, which wasn't bad. But you notice they're already in, right? They're already initiating. So basically, 17 on the shot clock is when they were getting into their set, and they're gonna get a quality, a quality set, but they just didn't execute. They didn't execute here. Spacing has to be on point. Again, spacing is crucial. Joe talks about all the time, and some of you look at him sometimes like it's confusing what he's talking about, but it's true. Spacing is super important here. Derek is the only one who's really looking to move. Jason and Jalen got to move. Have to move. Jalen has to move to the wing earlier here because then it puts pressure on Tobias to make a decision, and someone is going to be open. Then you're definitely going to get that lob threat for Rob. Malcolm doesn't throw this pass because he sees Tobias go onto Malcolm here, or onto Rob here, so he's not able to make that pass. And also, I think he may have not even seen him in the first place. And once he does make this pump fake here, I think Malcolm's just got to be able to throw that wraparound pass to Rob here, throw it under Melton, and not shoot this. Not a bad possession. They just didn't execute here on this possession. But what I did like about a lot of these possessions here in the early fourth quarter is their pace and getting into, look at that, 18, 19, already getting into their possession, right? Rob coming in to set the screen, right? He's going to slip right away. Tatum has him beat off the dribble. Does a really good job finishing him off. Uses that offhand. Close to an offensive foul, but definitely not an offensive foul. Um, he doesn't really wipe away Melton here. If he did, that would be an offensive foul. But here he just uses that off arm to really prevent him, to prevent Melton from getting in. He doesn't really wipe him away. If he wipes him away, that's an offensive foul. Here, not an offensive foul. Close, but not. Definitely not. And so Jason is going to get an easy two here, or he can throw the lob to Rob, or kick it out to Derek. Good spacing here, right? And this is how you're able to get good offense. Notice their defense creating offense. Boom. Half court. Notice the Sixers now. Look, see the difference in between your half court and your semi transition is, and notice Niang, PJ, Tobias, none of their eyes are on the ball. PJ's like half looking at the ball because you have to watch your offensive guys to see where they're going. You have to track other guys to see where they're going, especially guys that attract gravity like Malcolm and Jalen especially. And then now you set this up, and now you have to react. There's a lot of pressure put on you at that point to make reaction. Quick split decisions. You don't want to make quick decisions as a defense. You want to be forcing the offense to do things they don't want. At the end of the day, you're going to have to make quick decisions as a defense, but you want to try to make the offense do things they don't want to do as often as possible. And this is not what the Sixers definitely didn't. They didn't want this. Look at this another possession here, right? With pace, they created from their defense. Boom, 20. They're getting to this set here. Rob takes Wally guys a little bit, prefer him to hustle down the court a little bit more, but it's going to work out okay. Right, Derek's boom, going to go in right away. He's got Maxey. He's in a mismatch. He knows he can take Maxey all day, especially with his size advantage. Already getting stuff down the court. Boom. McDaniels going to try to help. He gets caught in a tough position already. Because look, PJ's tracking Jalen. Melton has to be worried about Malcolm some, right? So he's going to show and go right away. So there's guys you can't load up on the ball as easily when you're in semi-transition. You have to track the guy you're guarding. You can load up though when you're in the half court and everything slows down. It's a lot easier to. So it's important for the Celtics to get in semi-transition, even off makes or misses. They can't let a make or a miss define whether or not they're going to decide to push the ball with pace offensively. They were just a little bit too comfortable and almost like too trusting to the point where they trusted their offense so much where they didn't feel like they had to do as much. And they're going to need to play with a little bit more of that edge right here on this possession, right? Homie come right in. Rob's going to make a nice cut. Rob has a good feel, makes the cut. Melton he gets caught between Malcolm and Rob, and Rob's just much bigger than him. Melton is going to even, allow here. McDaniels has a good feel here to do a switch. McDaniels is actually a pretty decent off-ball defender. He's had a lot of good stuff on film where you watch him, and he's making the right decisions, even though you don't notice it. And boom, now you got the mismatch. Rob can just easily finish over D'Anthony Melton. So the key for them is just going to be to play with pace, not get too high, not get too low. At the same time, allow an edge to form. There has to be an edge to try to know what you're trying to do and be willing to go at all costs. Be willing to do what you're trying to do. Make that happen at all costs. If the Celtics are able to do that, not just tonight, but for the rest of the series, they're going to be in really good shape and for the rest of the postseason. They cannot let the opponent, they cannot let who they're guarding define whether or not how hard they're going to be willing to make something happen every possession. That's ultimately going to be up to them. And if they're able to execute like we know they can, they're probably going to win it all this year. If not, if they're not willing to make that happen, then they're probably not going to win it all. And they might even get bounced out this round. So we'll see if they're willing to do it. We know they can. It's just if they're going to be disciplined enough to make that happen. All right, here is a good film breakdown. Was not as extensive as I broke into last night, but I felt like it was some good insight here that could help provide you guys a little in-depth, breakdown of what's going on in Celtics Sixers and more from Celtics perspective. All right, peace.